A few days ago, we talked about the PlayStation Network social engineering hacking situation that had been thrust back into the spotlight because a prominent figure in the PlayStation community had their account stolen. It was hacked. And now we have some more information around that entire situation. But also, people are starting to realize how poor the security appears to be. Not only, I would say, for Sony, as again, they're like the big focus here, but I think this is something that applies to many other companies, and it's very, very concerning for where we are right now when it comes to the cybersecurity space, because I'll tell you now, things are about to become much, much more difficult for these companies over the next couple of years with some of their security protocols they have in place currently, and they might want to get this figured out yesterday, but we'll go over all that. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. So let's jump over here. This is on Push Square, and many different outlets were covering this as it was ongoing, and they're basically covering what was happening here with Colin Moriarty over Sacred Symbols, as his account was stolen. And the person here even kind of alludes to what was happening or about to happen, of course, saying, hey, I'm warning you, they have your information. They're going to try and take your account today. Now, that to me kind of explains how they were getting around some of the security measures that were in place here to be able to steal the PlayStation account for Colin. But he was able to get his account back. But it sounds like it was a lot of effort, like a lot. And yeah, he had to sort of go out of bounds for what a typical, say, PlayStation user or just typical gamer who's just like, hey, I'm more so laid back, relaxed, casual with this whole thing. He had to talk to a lot of people at times who would be unreachable for most within, say, PlayStation or even kind of around the PlayStation sphere. But he was able to get his account back after many, many conversations, it appears, on the phone, through email, etc. But what this started to do was recirculate a conversation that's been ongoing for, I'm not even kidding, years at this point, but much more so over the last 8 or 9 months. All right. So this is also linked to another article that was posted at the end of 2025. This would have been December 23rd. Here we go. And actually, it's funny. They recently updated it too, and they'll probably be updating it maybe again here soon because they went through a similar situation. This is over on Numerama, and the author here describes their own situation and process of trying to get their account back from a person who was able to social engineer their way through customer service to have the email and password reset. And yes, that means also bypassing any additional measures, whether it's two-factor authentication, people are mentioning passkeys. They're able to get around all of that stuff and then reset any of the security measures in their favor. And then, yes, take over the account. Now, with that in mind, people have been kind of fighting against this, at times quietly. I'm sure there are many people where this has happened to, and they don't necessarily have a big social media following or a platform where they can make some noise and get the ball rolling on getting their account back. I'm sure there are many people who have had this happen to, and they maybe make another PlayStation account or honestly just leave gaming completely. There's like, well, I guess that's the end of that. And they move on because it does seem like this is something where Sony drags their feet, or it has so many calls coming in for this. It could be either one, to where it takes months at times to resolve this. And that sounds kind of crazy going into what we believe to be a digital only future, where like the equity in your account is literally tied to its digital library. It's not like, oh, I'll make another account. Don't worry. All of my games by default are on disc because we don't have digital purchases. No. Now more than ever, people are buying their games digitally. And you can have, I mean, if the account's old enough, tens of thousands of dollars locked up maybe in just a digital library that you've been building. But on top of this, all right, I remember this story that had popped up a few months ago where a trophy hunter, specifically the top trophy hunter for Sony, their PlayStation Network account was also stolen. And then, get this, the hacker gave it back to them and then took it away again. So it seemed like the idea here, and yes, it all comes back to money, of course, but the idea here was the hacker was going to take the account from them and then ransom it back because they have like the top number of platinum trophies or trophies in general. This person was also this David Tremblay. They're also in like the Guinness Book of World Records. So there is value outside of just the purchases on the account. There's notoriety with the account. And yeah, trophies. I know some people might roll their eyes at that. It's like, what? It just has no actual value. Well, for some, I mean, there is like an entire like life experiences tied up with their trophies or achievements. Certainly for games, as you may think of a game. We can even go all the way back in the day when a younger, simpler time, and you'd be playing Mario Party, or you guys be hanging out playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time. One person playing, everyone kind of huddled around this little TV, watching it all happen, just impressed and amazed by everything you're seeing. But those are memories that stick with you for experiences, and in a way, a trophy or an achievement is kind of a somewhat more tangible way to chronicle that journey. So I do understand people look at this with a lot of memories, and there is kind of that priceless sense you put on different trophies and stuff, sure. But also yes, there is value placed on it for buying an account that, I'm not kidding, has 80 platinum trophies on it. And I know this because there are auction sites you can look up right now, and it's not hard to find, where they are just selling PlayStation accounts that have games that are purchased and trophies, both of which are like the two big headlining assets to it, okay? Where they're like, oh, it has X amount of games and X amount of platinum trophies. And then the other part that makes the account valuable is how old it is, like if it's aged. So if you have an account from before 2010, immediately spikes the overall value of it because there is like a trust factor in it, maybe from Sony's perspective, but also the buyer's perspective. So yes, there is value in PlayStation Network accounts, as crazy as it sounds, to where it's stolen, it's then repurposed, it's going to the garage in Grand Theft Auto and getting the paint job and dropping all the star ratings. And okay, here you have a PlayStation Network account that's been completely detached from its owner and wiped from their ability to get to it, and then you pass it off to another person. That is completely against terms of service, obviously, for Sony. They have that well documented. But the point here is, it seems very easy to do this, easier than it should be. So much so now, people have kind of caught wind as to how this is being socially engineered. And even months ago, as this article was posted, people started to discuss this more and more in places like Reddit, where it became pretty well known that you can generally bypass a person's security by way of customer service and enough information about that account, like, for example, the email that's tied to it, and then able to try to prove that you are the owner of the account through transaction IDs. And that's not necessarily uncommon. And that's why I say, while Sony is in the spotlight now, I'd be somewhat concerned about other companies and the way that they handle this. Because let's say, and I've gone through this before, your card gets stolen or duplicated or whatever, and you start having random transactions hit your bank account, and you call the number on your card, and you're like, oh, what's something's happening here, or they call you loss prevention. They're like, this looks weird. One of the ways that they try to prove that it's you, which they do ask you a lot of questions, out much more than Sony, I will say that. So maybe there needs to be more of a questionnaire in place for personal information that a person browsing the web wouldn't necessarily be able to get from you. But one of the things they ask is all these different transactions. Give me some transactions that have happened in the last couple of days. Give me exact dollar amounts that you would only have access to if you were signed in to your TD bank account or whatever, right? And then that's a way that they can line things up along with social security number, whatever else, to show that it is you and not, the hacker on the other side. Sony seems to have, of course, they outsource, seems like, a lot of their customer service, but also have a very light checklist to prove that it is you. And transaction IDs, maybe an email, these sorts of things allow you to get around the the password requirement, two-factor authentication. They reset all of that, and then you're off and running with a, to you, fresh new PlayStation Network account. So here's the obvious thing in this day and age: you don't want to share any of your transactions, specifically your transaction numbers. Or some have kind of floated the fact that if someone can figure out when you bought a game, that might also be enough to get through customer service and get your account. So that, and then of course the email you have on your PlayStation Network, or really anything. All right. So for you, for people on YouTube, this might be kind of tough because there are many times where you'll be playing a game, or streamers, you'll play a game and your email might be in the top corner or something. And well, that's now the person knows that's tied to your Xbox account or your PlayStation account or anything like that. So these are things that become quite difficult to get around if you are more of a public figure. Okay. Now, if you're just somebody, again, who's more of an observer, you're more casual, you're just playing games here and there, you don't have a big online presence, I would not go about posting transaction IDs for anything. Like on the receipt, it'll be on there. And whatever your email is linked to it, I think you can still share your PlayStation Network account, like your name, of course, but not really the email attached to it. These are all things that seem like they would allow a person to get around any of these security measures with customer service. And yeah, these people can attempt multiple customer service agents until they get to someone who just kind of lets them through. Here's the thing, all right? And this is my concern right now going forward over the next few years as we get more and more digital with our libraries and access to PlayStation, Nintendo, Microsoft, etc., is we're going to be very, very tied to these different accounts. So they will become more valuable, which means you will have more of an incentive for hackers and these other people who are trying to social engineer to do so. But also, their tools are getting significantly better. All right, so AI is a big thing that's being discussed right now, and I am following along with it quite a bit because I do think one way or the other, it's going to have a serious impact on people's lives. If it doesn't work out, my gosh, the fallout to the economy and everything is going to be insane. But if it does work out, there's going to be a lot of things to figure out on the side of maybe people, even younger people going through school right now. What do they do after all of that? What do people in the workforce, like there's so many questions, right? So I am trying to keep an eye on it. But cybersecurity is a massive, massive thing right now with AI. All right. So when I think of, for example, the fact that X, which is Twitter, whatever, is a place where people do share a lot of their gaming experiences. And at times, yes, does include their purchases. And you have something like Grok that can comb the entire social platform in a matter of seconds, minutes, and can find transactions being shared. And I have tried this. It does work. And in fact, you don't even need to have like a person's specific handle. You can just ask for it to go out and find transaction IDs, examples. Give me 50 examples of transactions that have been shared. It will indeed go out and try to find these. And it returned a number of them. Okay. So my advice, actually, if you're on Twitter right now, use Grok and go, hey, have I shared any transactions at all on my account? And it'll just check and tell you yes or no. And if it has, you can find them and I guess pull them down. These are just things that I would recommend you go and do right now, because the thing with AI, while it will have guardrails up for stopping itself from just say, hey, go ahead and hack this person's account, it'll say, yeah, I can't really do that. But if you say, hey, I need transaction IDs, I need emails, it will at least attempt to find this stuff for you. And that is like 90% of the battle, I think, right now is just information gathering at scale. And these AI or large language models will solve that for people. And then you also get into the idea of, oh, well, you can also create a number of agents. You can synthesize their voices and they can make the calls. It becomes a whole problem. So this is something that Sony, I'll say actually really everyone, but Sony again right now is the big topic here, needs to figure out. Because as we go towards, again, a generation where it's going to be more digital than ever, there will be more bad actors than ever attempting to exploit all of this. And it's not great when the person who was leading the way on that leaderboard with the most trophies, platinum or what have you, they lose their account and they still can't get it back. It's just, it's not a great look. And it makes me wonder how many people have had their accounts tapped into and just didn't really say much because what are they going to do, right? Customer service is like, we'll see in a few months. And they probably just move on, to be honest. And that's that. But let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments, because I think this is a massive, massive thing. Definitely a big red flag that Sony needs to really think about and work to solve yesterday. Not tomorrow, not today, like yesterday, because it'll only get worse if they don't. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.